Greetings, what is up, and a very warm welcome to the channel. The sun is hiding and the magpie is casting. Coming to you guys right now with a live 1 versus 1 battle featuring spawning in the west. It's going to be the austere forces of Sabrina. And spawning in the east. Playing as the Soviet forces, it's WhoRunBarterTown. So, yep, another fantastic, hopefully fantastic game coming fresh from the ladder here. These two players were the top-rated game Bartertown's featured on the channel relatively recently, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing some more high-level play here. Looks like it's going to be a infantry company opening here for Sabrina, and looks like it is so far a techless opening here for our Soviet player, but we're not sort of super unused to seeing this. So this is the Rechna Preprava map. I actually can't remember how it's spelled, so that's just going off of memory. Pardon me. But I think this is actually only the second time I've cast a game on this map, but I really enjoyed the first game. This map does seem pretty cool. I love the central river running down the middle of the map, and I love the way that each team has a sort of like home side of the river and a like cross side of the river. And I like the way that this is like a genuinely symmetrical map rather than just a sort of symmetrically designed but has asymmetrical features map. So yeah, it's just a cool map. I don't know what the players think of it. Maybe well, I don't know. Let's take a look at the commanders that our two players are packing on the roster here while we wait for their initial squads to move out and get some work done out on the map here. Looks like Sabrina's running with Mechanized Assault, with Blitzkrieg Doctrine, and Guy with Hat. Is that artillery dude? Nope, it's German Infantry Doctrine. I always forget him. So, yeah, 3 decent commanders. Lightning War. So I'm just refreshing my memory of these what these commanders have. Okay. And it looks like WhoRunBarterTown's got Soviet Windustry, Soviet Airborne, and is that NKVD Geezers? No, it's Shock Rifle Frontline Tactics. Okay. So, yeah, we've got like one vanilla commander. Soviet Industry Tactics is a commander that I'm not sure I fully understand anymore. I've just not quite seen enough play from it, and it's changed so much from how I remember it being introduced. Anyway, we got fighting going on around the map. Looks like Grenadiers going to be taking on conscripts all over the shop, and that they are pretty good at doing, as we can see already. Bartertown having to fall back some of these squads. Grenadiers, if they take the right fights at the right ranges, particularly if they're in cover, tend to do quite well against conscripts, and we are seeing that. Even Pioneers can chew into conscripts if they get close enough, and that's what we're seeing here. Pardon me, dear me, sorry. MG42 going to be added into the roster here by Sabrina, which does make sense when you're facing, well, Soviets in general, but especially a conscript opener. And still, so far, so techless for Bartertown. Where are his engineers? Okay, so they're on the map capping, so there's not going to be any tech in the sort of like immediate future. So this is pretty interesting stuff. So, I mean, Airborne Troops Tactics, you can totally go techless and run this for a good while, because obviously you can parachute in weapons, you can parachute in the Dansek Spicy Machine Gun, and even if you want to go to 3 command points, you can get guards later on. So, alright. These engineers are still out on the map. Okay. That's the sound of the MG42. Thundering away down here. Conscripts in a nice position though, have managed to establish some sandbags right on the doorstep of the German base, so this is annoying. Bartertown establishing a nice forward position here. Also has the triple cap scoreline opening up at quite a scary rate right now for Sabrina, so Sabrina with some work to do here. Alright, engineers have come home. Let's see if Bartertown's going to throw down some tech right now. Seems like he probably should, because we've not had a commander pick or anything yet. So keep an eye on the mini-map. We're going to see a tech icon, I would imagine, here for the Soviet player. MG42 just on base defense duty right now. Bartertown just being able to have his way with the map, so that's pretty good for the Soviet player here. Getting sandbags and fighting positions in all the most important places. Alright. It just looks like... Okay, it is going to be a sport weapon Campanile. There we go. Cool. Alright. Sport weapon Campanile opener here for Bartertown. Going to see if he's going to go for Maxim or Mortar Tube or something like that. This does look like a fine circumstance for a Mortar Tube, to be honest. Or he might just throw down the Tank of E Battalion command. He's had such good resource income this game. Could throw that one down and get a T70 rolling at a fairly early juncture when your field domination has been this good. Yeah, that's the thing you can just go ahead and do. He's about to connect double fuel again here as Bartertown, so Sabrina just kind of getting outclassed right now. And, you know, I'm sure Axis and Vermac players especially will sympathise. Early game can be a struggle with this faction. Doesn't have to be, though. We've seen Vermac players, there are various ways that you can, like, dominate in the early game. Let's just quickly check the tech. Alright, Battle Phase 1 is done. No sign of life the Mechanized Company yet. And it does look like it's going to be a fairly rapid Tank V Battalion command. I imagine by the time this finishes, we'll have T70 fuel. I mean, this is just crazy, the amount of fuel income he's having here. Plus 33 over plus 13. Finally, some Pioneers going to get their boots onto the southern fuel point here. And Sabrina going to hopefully establish the minimum resources she might need to stay in this game. I mean, one victory point and one fuel point connected is, like, vital. If you cannot maintain at least that through the early game, then you are in for an incredibly rough ride. So Sabrina's going to try and get those connected. There are still conscripts, though, just being annoying, looking for cut-offs, trying to just hover around on the doorstep of the Axis base. Let's crack the tack, and we can see. Looks like actually just 2 squads out for right now for the Soviets. The other squad's coming out from the base here. I'm kind of... Well, I suppose he's saving manpower for that T70, which must be on the queue, or will be appearing momentarily on the queue here. Doesn't actually have the manpower. But yeah, it's 4 squads of conscripts is fine, but been relying on 4 squads of conscripts for a little while here. So looking a bit thin on the ground now is Bartertown. How much manpower is a T70? It is 260 manpower. Alright, so I imagine we'll see Bartertown click on that unit at his earliest convenience. It's going to be a 222 out here for Sabrina, which is going to be a useful unit as long as she can micro it well against the T70. If it falls foul of a tank buster grenade, then that's going to be problems. So, yep, 222 scout car going to be coming out here. Nice rapid response unit, going to be able to police the Soviet infantry that's been just dominating the map so far. And if I crack the tack, you can actually see some reversal of fortune going on here. Grenadiers have been able to liberate the south of the map here for Axis forces. 222 going to be committing into the bridge in mid. Meanwhile, in south, it's MG42 and Grenadiers in buildings doing work against the conscript. So Sabrina definitely showing signs of life here, starting to stabilize nicely. We'll see. Where's this 222 going to... Okay, just overwatching the central VP for now. Conscript's going to move in here, and I imagine we'll see the 222 come on in here. T70 is just entering the map, so keep an eye on the mini-map. We're going to see where Bartertown's going to route that unit. You have to think he's going to throw it towards the 222 to force the German scout car back. Pack 40 going to appear on the queue here. Perfect timing for Sabrina. This is going to come out when it's going to be very relevant with a lovely target here in this T70. And hopefully that's going to enable Sabrina to maintain some map presence on both sides of the river. With the mobile 222 and the relatively less mobile pack gun providing some coverage against this T70. Wow, this 222 just like fearlessly committing here. There we go, now we're going to be forced back. Grenadiers lurking here. Incendiary MG42 also going to start heaping some damage onto the T70. Bartertown opting just to sit tight and just weather the storm. A bit risky. Okay, now going to GTFO. Trading a lot of HP off of the T70 there to get this 222 out of there. That was a lot of veterancy to feed onto an MG42 as well. So, yeah, interesting decision there. Guess he just really wanted to put the damage onto the 222, force that one back to be repaired. 2 squads of Pioneers, though, out now for Sabrina, and I do like it when Axis players... I do like it when players generally go for 2 Engineer squads earlier rather than later in a game, and Sabrina definitely demonstrating that that's the preference. So yeah, 2 squads of Pioneers is going to be able to turn this 222 round very rapidly. Here it comes. Ta-da! So that's going to actually repair super fast. Bartertown now beginning to build up a bit of a resource bubble. Not sure what the plan is for all this manpower that he's stacking up here. I would love to see him diversify the roster. I think 4 squads of conscripts, even with the T70 in support, is, I mean, increasingly having a more difficult time now. Some of these Grenadiers have got LMG42s. Some of the MG42 as well is just a problem that conscripts aren't the best unit for dealing with. Pardon me. Looks like Bartertown going to go ahead and pick the Soviet Windustry. So we're going to have an industry-based strategy here from Bartertown. Sabrina still to make a commander pick, has that flexibility. Okay, it's going to be Panzer Grenadiers. I don't know, this army for the German player is just looking like faster, stronger, better, harder right now. This is a well-rounded force with a lot more diversity than one T70 and some conscripts. I mean, the engineers are here, but I mean, I hardly count them as a combat unit, really. At least not when they've got a metal detector. So, yeah, Bartertown is going to have to do something here. Let's just quickly have a look. No sign of additional tech yet. Okay, going to have a repair station coming down on the doorstep of the base. That's going to enable this T70 to get turned around and head back into the fight here. Bartertown does have some time to spare here, as you can see on the scoreline, like leading by about 140 tickets. That does represent some time to play with here, but you never want to let your Axis player creep back into the game like this. And Sabrina is definitely doing that. Sandbags coming back in nice locations. Pat gun located centrally on the map is nice. Double repair station. This seems to be a thing. When Soviet players go for Soviet Windustry, double repair station straight away appears to be the call of just the strat. And I have to say, I don't fully understand this, right? What do the repair stations actually do? They just repair nearby vehicles. Okay, let me just make sure. There are no other abilities or anything on this. They just repair nearby vehicles. Right. So it's just invested quite a lot of resources in the ability to repair this T70 rapidly. I mean, okay, I guess we're getting the Mechanized Regiment Campanile now, so those repair stations are going to have some utility, but I mean, it's just a weird time. Why build two now? Why not just build one and have that repair the T70? It's not like T70s take that long to repair. You've got engineers to help that repair station as well, if you really want to repair quickly. I guess what I'm asking is, what's the utility? Like, what's the point in getting two repair stations like this super early when you've only got a T70 to repair? Why not spend that manpower, get some extra infantry? Because 4 squads of conscripts, they are having a rough time out on the map right now. This German army has increased in sophistication, size, and power, while the Soviet army is just still 4 squads of conscripts. Really, I mean, this T70 is nice and is doing well. Where's the Pack 40 right now? Okay, it's repositioning to try and find some shots, but it's going to be difficult. Going to have to take some shots across the river here. 222 going to come in here, starts lawnmowering conscripts, as is its wont. Bartertown probably going to pull that squad back, and he will. T70 moves in to police the 222. The Pack gun actually frustrated by this line of sight blocker. Not going to be able to get some shots through here. Maybe an attack ground round could have been the order of the day there, but Sabrina not gonna go for that. And that's okay. Was unlikely to destroy the T70. Would have just been a chance to get some damage on it and force it back to repair. But yeah, field control over this last phase of play has definitely been a story of Axis domination, which is nice for Sabrina, who got off to quite a difficult start against this conscript strategy. Stacking a lot of power as Bartertown. Sorry, a lot of manpower as Bartertown. So are we just going for T-34 spam or something? I don't know. I feel like you need to spend some of this money, get one more squad, get a Maxim, or get a mortar tube to help counter the Pack gun and the MG, or and throw down some smoke, or I don't know. This just feels like a really inefficient use of resources, really, for the Soviet player, and I don't quite understand what the upside is right now. I'm sure that there's something going on here. Bartertown is a super good player. 222 and the T-70 having a scrap up here in North, infantry combat going on in the south, so the Pack gun actually lining up the T-70. Only gets the one shot. The 222 is here to pursue, and it will. T-70 going to scurry away as best it can. I think it is going to escape for now. Fighting in middle of map here, looks like MG42 is going to lock down the bridge. Conscripts forced to GTFO, and in south it looks like Axis troops also carrying the day. Double fuel, actually no, not double fuel yet connected. Sorry, this is a victory point. But a triple cap established for Sabrina, who is catching up fast now. Only about 60 odd tickets in this. So, right, the repair stations do repair the T-70 quite rapidly, but cannot repair it whilst it's fighting. That's interesting. Triple mortar squad? Head scratching intensifies. I mean, if mortar squads were the thing you wanted, you don't have to save up the money for 3 of them and then put 3 on the queue, which obviously is not super efficient. You can increment them out one by one, and that way we would have had mortar squads on the field minutes ago, doing damage, racking up veterancy, helping to corral this Axis force back. And now, I mean, it's just never efficient in RTS when you save up a load of resources and then chuck a load of units on the queue, because well, it's just never what you want to do. So I feel like Bartertown was doing something else and has now decided to go for mortar squads. So I feel like there has been a change of plan here. I like the mortar squads. I was sort of mentioning them earlier that they are potentially a good pick. When your opponent has very potent weapon teams like MGs and pack guns, they are going to be good, and mortars also just sort of bleed enemy infantry as it advances into your areas of the map. Also, I feel like on this map, because of the way there is this river dissecting the map, it's actually makes mortar teams like disproportionately good because they're much harder to access. Your opponent has to commit their forces to a risky maneuver coming across this river if they want to access those mortar squads. So yeah, that's quite nice. Pack gun here going to find some hits on, or one hit on the T-70. We're trying for a second attack round, doesn't find it though. So the T-70 forced to scurry back. We're up to 100 fuel now, so we could see a T-34 on the queue momentarily. Nice rifle grenade coming through. Possibility of a squad wipe on some conscripts, which Bartertown can ill afford right now. Definitely wants to be saving up to get the T-34 or whatever tank it is that he's trying to get here. This conscript squad's so low. He does get the kill. Sabrina coming through nicely there, the 222. Delivering the goods. Now the 222 though is exposed. The T-70 gets one more shot and that should be enough. What? Okay, he gets another shot. Wow, okay, there we go. So, yep, gonna pick up the 222 there. The T-70 needs to GTFO though. That pack gun will not take prisoners. Mortars, speaking of not taking prisoners, are shelling the hell out of this MG crew. They are taking a lot of abuse here. Finally, Sabrina gives the order to fall back. Sabrina also stacking a lot of manpower. Let's quickly check the tech. We are up to battle phase 3. So, Sabrina with access to whatever parts of the Axis tech tree she desires. As soon as she builds either the support armor core or the heavy armor core, we'll have some more information about what her intentions are with that tech. But this game's really shaping up now. We've got heated combat all along the central line of the map. Forces trying to push and exchange fire. And the scoreline approximately even, so we've got the makings of a good game here. I think that was a telemine? Because that T-70 was pretty healthy, right? I think that was a telemine. I'm not sure. I can't see what else it could have been. It looked like a telemine. So, wow, telemine's going to take care of the T-70, which also, incidentally, right now means that these repair stations have no utility whatsoever. Bartertown is saving hard, so is this going to be a KV-8? Is this going to be a KV-2? Is this going to be an SU-85? I don't know, but Bartertown's going to have his pick of like any Soviet armored unit that is available to him in the game. Let's have a little think about this. I reckon on this map specifically, the KV-2 is really scary. For all the reasons I was talking about how mortar squads are quite useful on this map. That looks like a KV-8 to me. So, okay. How much is a KV-2? Oh, they're really expensive. Okay. Wow, they're more expensive than I thought. Holy they cost like the same as a Tiger. Alright. But yeah, as I was saying, if Bartertown can like stabilize and then get a KV-2 out in a second, or I say in a second, in the later stages of this game, I really like his position because again, if you can deploy the KV-2 in siege mode like here, say, and then just like lob shells over the river, and anytime the Axis player wants to try and access that position, you've got to get through the fire of the KV-2 and 2 mortar squads and whatever supporting infantry that happen to be helping them out. So that represents quite a challenge for the rifle grenade. That represents quite a challenge for the Axis player to be able to put that all together. So what I'm saying basically is because of the way this map is structured, it's very easy to put a KV-2 in a place where it's a problem for your opponent, but it's also very hard for them to push that KV-2 out of that position. But anyway, we've got a KV-8 on the field now, and this is going to be the Kingmaker on the field for a moment here. Sabrina goes ahead and picks the Blitzkrieg Doctrine. So it's going to be a Tiger strat here, I believe. No other tech out here, so it's going to be a Tiger strat here. So the KV-8 is the Kingmaker on the field for about another minute on present fuel income rates until that Tiger comes out. And then, well, then the KV-8 is going to have to respect the Tiger tank. But for now, free to drive around the countryside and burninate some Axis dudes, and I imagine that's what we're going to see it do. Just hunting for targets here. Realizes that there were some Panzer Grenadiers in the south down here. Those Panzer Grenadiers going to get the fallback nice and early. Sabrina totes aware of the potential danger. Of course, the KV-8 is also really good at burninating squads that are falling back because it's about the same speed as a falling back squad. So just because you fall your squads back doesn't actually mean that they're safe from the KV-8. And of course, its anti-infantry damage is so intense with that flamethrower that, yeah, falling back squads that are falling back are still totes fair game, of course, for this unit. So a couple of Zis guns getting mixed into the roster now for Bartertown, who's probably figured out by now that he's up against a Tiger strat. Hasn't seen any other Axis fuel spending to speak of except for the 222 scout car. Out on the map, So going to be going for some preemptive Zis guns, and that does make sense when you look at the roster up here in the top right. Anti-tank resources were sorely lacking. Now with 2 Zis guns, there's at least something. Probably not enough to cobble together a kill on a Tiger tank, but definitely enough to be a start. And possibly set the table for an Su-85 later on to complete the composition here. We're going to see. So anyway, Tiger tank is now out on the field. This KV-8 gets tagged by a Faust and is under the arc of a pack gun, so actually this could not be a worse time for a Tiger to come onto the field for Bartertown. Here comes the Tiger rumbling forth. We're going to see that turret start traversing here momentarily. There it is. And now, this KV-8 is in severe jeopardy. Probably can't take many more hits like that. 2 Zis guns here to cover it though. Conscript here. Anti-vehicle grenade is going to come through in a second. Why is it not coming through? Surely he wants to donk this. Uh-oh, this Tiger now a bit in jeopardy. Has he researched anti-vehicle grenades? He forgot the research! Oh no! Bartertown, no! Not like this! Oh no! Okay, we just heard the research finish. Oh no, sounds like Bartertown forgot to get that research early on. Oh, that's so dire. How much does it cost? Like 15 fuel? 10 fuel, yeah. I mean, I have to feel like you usually don't want to wait that long to get the anti-vehicle grenades. Usually most Soviet players, it's a bit like getting Stim as Terran, or like, it's one of those essential upgrades that you just know is so cheap and it provides such utility that you will definitely just want to get it at some point, even if your opponent isn't actively throwing tanks in your face, because you know they're going to spend their fuel at some point, and you know that anti-vehicle grenades are just really good. So, and also imagine if those conscripts had had anti-vehicle grenades in this scuffle, that Tiger would have had its engine busted in this position here under the arc of 2 Zis guns. And that would have been dire times. Like, that could have been a dead Tiger straight away there. That was a close shave for both players. The KV-8 nearly died. Then the Tiger nearly died. So, Tiger's going to get repaired very quickly here. 2 squads of Pioneers. Going to see to that one in a fairly quick order here. But kind of a shame there for Bartertown that he didn't have the anti-vehicle grenades ready. Just even 15 seconds earlier would have made the difference. So Allied supply drops are coming through now. So I believe that is just a way of converting munitions into fuel. So looks like Bartertown will shortly be able to take another Soviet armor pick here, and I mean the KV-2 is a hell of a thing and it's a fun unit to use, but I have to feel like the Su-85 is the superior choice right now. This is a game that's even on scoreline, which informs you that it's, assuming all other things being equal, that it's going to go on for a little bit longer, and Su-85s are a long-term investment. They're a unit that scales well over time. They need time to flourish. They're not very good over short times. They're not very good at closing the game out quickly. They're an investment which really develops and flourishes sort of minutes after it's hit the field. So with that in mind, I feel like this is a fine opportunity for an Su-85. You know, there's a Tiger tank already out, so that Su-85 is going to have a very good target to try and control already. And just the nature of this map, now that there's been like substantial amounts of terrain and cover shelled out the middle, the sight lanes are all quite open around the middle of the map where any potential armor engagements are going to be taken. So an Su-85 hanging out in this position around about where the Zis guns are would be a potent resource for the Soviet player. But Bartertown disagrees. Thinks a KV-8 is the correct choice. A second KV-8. So, head-scratching mode engaged once more. So why would you go for another KV-8 here? So, alright, if you essentially sort of, not ignore, but like do not spend any extra resources on dealing with your opponent's Tiger tank, then you could say, if you focus on wiping out the German core infantry, that is another valid route to victory. If your opponent has no grenadiers or no pioneers or no panzer grenadiers, or, you know, if you have burned out their infantry roster, the Tiger tank becomes kind of rubbish. You can win the game by just killing your opponent's infantry. We often see that with OKW and Wehrmacht, where they're just too taxed on manpower to replace their losses and they get whittled down squad by squad in the late game. And then even though they have a healthy roster of amazing late game Axis armor, they're forced to GG because they've got no infantry. And by the time they replace it, they'd definitely be dead. So maybe the plan here is just to use the KV-8s to go for the infantry, but I don't feel like that's a very good plan, really. You know what, also, I don't feel like it's a very good plan. It's just leaving your Tiger tank parked out here up against Frog of War, when you know that there are 2 Zis guns, and God knows how many conscripts crawling around out there. So, yeah, Sabrina going to back that one out of there, and right to do so. I just was worried for a second that she was kind of just leaving it hanging there. But, yeah, so, I don't know. the focus here is going to be on anti-infantry armoured poke here for Bartertown. Not sure I agree with it, to be honest. I mean, Su-85s are amazing, and this looked like an amazing spot for one. Anyway, this is the situation we find ourselves in now. The situation Sabrina finds herself in is one where she feels like she wants to go ahead and pick the Panzerwerfer. And yeah, this is a nice answer when your opponent has 2 Zis guns and 2 mortar squads. So yeah, I think I like the pick of the Panzerwerfer. Again though, I don't know. I guess it's okay because you have the Tiger. I just feel like she had the unit cap and she was getting towards the money where a Panther was an option, and you've seen that your opponent has 2 KV-8s, so like a Panther is nice. So I don't know. Alright, this Tiger tank getting found out by Zis guns here. Coming forwards? Are you sure? Yeah, I was going to say, seems bad. Panzerwerfer going to take some shots. That has to be landing here. Finds one of the mortar squads. And that's actually it. So, not the most valuable barrage there. 5 infantry models getting gibbed between the Zis gun squads and the mortar squads. Not really enough. Conscripts can just happily come out and recrew that one. That was actually the mortar tube which didn't have the veterancy on it, so the vet 2-star one here going to survive. Conscripts just going to come out and recrew that. You're absolutely fine reinforcing your Zis gun crews, so that's actually fine. I think that this game then is going to come down to the victory points, the way things are looking, and Sabrina now taking the lead. Bartertown gonna start running out of time here if he's not careful. Gonna have to access one of the other victory points on the map. Grenadiers gonna get up on top of South as well, and Bartertown definitely cannot afford to have a triple cap established. Nor can Bartertown afford to have a KV-8 picked off right now, and that is in danger of occurring here. Faust gonna connect, and the pack gun here is just on the stalk. There's more than enough range here. Tiger comes in from the north, and that will be a kill on a KV-8. That Bartertown really did not want to give away. Now Bartertown's going to try and sneak forward with this KV-8 and get up on top of that pack gun, but Sabrina cleverly picking it up and getting back over the river. Now where's the Tiger tank in all this? It is up here to the north, and it is being engaged by conscripts. The KV-8 is going to come in for a dive here. I think this is a bit ill-advised though. Even if you get the pack gun here, it's in the German base. You can't really kill it in a hurry. I mean, like, actually destroy the hardware with the KV-8. You'd have to switch gun and then use its puny little main cannon to blow up that pack gun. So even if you got the kill in the Axis base, it doesn't really count for much because, you know, the Axis player can just recrew it. Yeah, wiping veterancy off that pack gun would be really nice. But it's not exactly a game changer. So anyway, Panzerwerfer are going to take some shots. Finding an amount of kills on these units, but no squad wipes as far as I can tell, unless it give the other mortar squad there. Let me just check. So actually killing no additional infantry squads. They're getting pretty unlucky with that rocket barrage, it seems. Yeah. So, okay, but Bartertown, right, the big story of this game now is Bartertown, you need to take a victory point on the map. It's up to you. Do you go for mid or do you go for north? Also, Bartertown really needs to garrison this southern VP. Get a Maxim in this building or something. Like, this is horrendously exposed. A squad of pioneers could walk up and take this. There's not even any mines. So that's going to be a problem. As soon as Sabrina can spare an infantry squad to go down there and grab that, there's going to be problems. Pack gun here, finding the other KV-8, getting some lovely hits in here. And gets one more hit even. Very nice. Forcing that KV-8 to go back and repair. Quadruple vehicle repair station. Oh my goodness. I mean, this works a lot better if you have some better armoured units to work with it. I mean, Bartertown now getting up to, like, a decent amount of fuel. Manpower, as always with Windustry, the issue right now. I just, please take an Su-85. I think it, just please. Another Panzerwerfer here. Sabrina just committing to the indirect fire solutions. Okay. Bartertown, though, gets up on top of middle VP. Conscripts in jeopardy. The Tiger, oh no, has to fall them back just too early. Okay, well, gets himself off of the clock and also has engineers grabbing north, so this is fine, I suppose. KV-8 bravely nudging forwards here. Where's that 3-star pack gun? Here it comes. Range on that thing is just spooky. Pack guns always just seem to be able to fire like a little bit further than other AT guns. It's probably just like a... it's probably a psychological thing for me. I don't know. I feel like... I don't know, look at that range. Did they get a range upgrade for veterancy? Nope, they don't. Alright. Didn't think they did. We are losing supplies to the enemy. Alright, so Panzer Grenadiers get up on top of North. They're going to start decapping that for Sabrina. Mid gets decapped as well. So, Bartertown off the clock right now. This is a close game, and we're going to go to the late game here. It looks like. Tiger tank now repaired, nearly 2 stars of veterancy on that thing. So it's getting to be quite scary now. Bartertown is accumulating manpower. An Su-85 is 350 manpower, and I really hope that that's his next choice. The KV-8 finds the pack gun and will destroy it, so that's 3 stars of veterancy lost on the pack gun. Grenadiers immediately going to step up and recrew that. Panzerwerfers are taking shots right now. Finding the Zis guns, gets a kill on one. Okay, now the Panzerwerfers are starting to look like a smart choice. They are starting to pay off now. 10 kills on one, 4 on the other, and this is representing a genuine toll. Bartertown doesn't really want to spend the manpower picking up these weapons and reinforcing and stuff like that. What he really wants to do is spend the manpower on heavy Soviet industry toys. But Sabrina here, exploiting that plan by just wiping out these Zis guns and wiping out conscripts and stuff like that, just taxing the manpower of Bartertown with these Panzerwerfers. Okay, 3-star Grenadier squad getting hung out to dry here. Sabrina's attention probably on microing the Tiger right now, and that's a bitter loss. Can't afford to be hemorrhaging core infantry. Actually, you know what? Sabrina probably can afford it right now. But you never want to be losing your core infantry. That always feels bad, and that's going to enable Bartertown to grab the Southern VP, which he desperately needs to, because again, starting to bleed out now. 165 under 217. This is a grindy and slow late game that we're getting ourselves into. But look at the top left, look at the top right. This Soviet army does not look very good right now. This next unit choice is going to be crucial. It's probably going to determine the outcome of this game. What is the next unit choice going to be for Bartertown, and how effective is it going to be on this table, on this board state? It's going to be a T-34. What? Right, head scratching mode re-enabled. Somebody explain this T-34 to me. I don't get it. Is this just going to be like a flank patrol T-34 to like secure whichever of the flanking VPs? So, because you can keep the T-34 like back here, and then if Axis infantry goes for the north or south VP, the T-34 is like a rapid response unit that can push aside all of the Axis infantry squads, and that will require the Tiger tank or the pack gun, but really the Tiger tank's the pack gun's not fast enough to reposition to deal and support the infantry in north or south. So perhaps this T-34 is being purchased essentially as like a heavy T-70 for the late game. But even so, I don't like it. You already have a KV-8 which can do that, and if you just support the KV-8 with a decent armoured anti-vehicle solution, the Su-85, which I still think is the right choice, then you know, that's fine. An Su-85 parked around this portion of the map is fantastic. Also, the Su-85 represents an anti-tank resource which doesn't really care about Panzerwerfer barrages. Not very much anyway. So that is also useful. Panzerwerfer, speaking of which, they are firing. Oh. Going to be finding a Zis gun, but actually not really finding it with any rocket hits. So getting a bit unlucky with the spread there. Whoa! Pack gun and Grenadiers getting all kinds of burninated. T-34 coming in. That one is set to prioritize vehicles right now. Oh, this is what the T-34 is for. Okay, it's a run-by unit to try and get the Werfers. Okay, that makes some sense. Stuka close air support is coming in though, and the Tiger tank is here as well. So this T-34's opportunity is going to be limited. Its main gun could be destroyed at any second now. He parks it. Surely you want to keep this thing moving. Okay, now the main gun's destroyed. Go for a ram, perhaps. He can come around for a ram on this Panzerwerfer here. Oh no, the Tiger will get it though. No, the turret traverse had already reset. Oh no, Sabrina. Okay, if Sabrina had rotated the Tiger so that the turret was facing this way, that actually would have gotten a shot in, and if the shot was a hit, probably destroyed the T-34 before the ram came through. As it is, the T-34 was successful in getting both of these Panzerwerfers. Can't help but feel Bartertown getting a bit lucky there. Okay, I hadn't considered that he was buying the T-34 as a run-by unit to pick off Panzerwerfers, because honestly, I really hadn't considered the Panzerwerfers to be enough of a problem. Like, what were they really doing in this game? Like, dinking down his Zis guns? Is that really a problem when you can just reman them instantly? I don't know. I guess he just didn't want to be bleeding the manpower, and I was saying that was being a problem earlier, so Okay, Bartertown's going to have a bit more manpower now moving forwards, and has just still a stack of fuel. I suppose T-34s are cheap, and when you're calling in the Allied supply drop, which Bartertown is drowning in munitions now, he just can't move for munitions. Oh, conscripts here, probably going to get wiped. That's not good. Wow, getting hit by an 88mm cannon will wipe you most times. So anyway, all right. All right, Panther tank is going to be the option here for Sabrina, so getting a very sophisticated Axis late-game armor roster here. Ziskun's making a bold move onto the north side of the bridge here. KV-8 in support, Soviet units pushing up. In south, it looks like we've got Grenadiers grabbing a VP. Bartertown cementing his position in mid, but it won't be enough. You need 2 or more of these victory points, my friend. And he's back under the clock now, 152 and ticking, under 194. Bartertown losing his conscripts, let's not forget, in that last phase of play. Manpower, the determining resource right now for Bartertown, so he cannot really afford to be replacing them. Is he saving for KV-2? I just don't think that's wise, buddy. The KV-2 is a really good tank, but it is not great when your opponent has a 2-star Tiger and a Panther. I suppose you've got triple Zisgun to keep them back, but like, I still feel like they could probably just come in and nab your KV-2. He's going to be Sabrina going to be replacing the Panzerwerfers, or one of them at least. Okay. Both of these players are making a lot of decisions that I feel like I don't really agree with. And I'm not saying I'm like, why don't they do what I say? I'm so good. I know all about this game. Wah! I'm just like having to reevaluate why these players are making various decisions, because I don't fully understand, if I'm honest. Well, okay then. So, another Allied supply drop coming in. Oh wow, the Tiger takes it out though. Did he get the crates off? Not sure. Okay, Bartertown in some trouble now, getting pushed hard. Where's the KV-8? KV-2 is the choice, so the siege tank going to be on the field. Ready to roll out. Alright, Panther and Tiger is a scary mix though. And okay, what is the plan here? Alright, Ziskun's going to be moving out. Tiger tank is here. Ziskun's aligned. That's going to be a lot of firepower. KV-2 comes crushing forwards here. Remember, the KV-2 shells, I believe, are heavy enough to stun even a Tiger. 3 stars on this Tiger, though. Panther here in support. KV-2, unfazed, stays to fight. Going to miss the Panther. Ziskun's chipping in for damage. KV-2 is going to hold the field. Meanwhile, it looks like Engineer's going to try and challenge for the Northern VP, but a 3-star MG42 awaits, and that will be enough. KV-8 is actually going to hop into the base for a little bit of a barbecue session here. And now, I believe that KV-8 will just be forfeit. Right? Because there's a... Oh, whoa, the KV-2 coming in as well. Bartertown, what is this? He's so ballsy. You're going to lose your KV-2, buddy. I don't think that's a good deal. Oh, he's going to get the Panther! Is he? No! He does get the Panther! Oh my goodness. Somehow those Ziskun's getting line of sight over there. I could see the barrels tracking, but that felt like an age before they finally fired and destroyed the Panther. And Bartertown gets out of there with the KV-8 and the KV-2. So I am forced to conclude that somehow whatever he just did was the right thing to do. I mean, it worked. It definitely worked. Man, he was pushing with such a wounded KV-2 so hard there. And the repair time is going to be like almost instantaneous here. This is a lot of Soviet repair stations. Which actually, now that I look, so the Panzerwerfers were targeting these down as well. And there is still a Panzerwerfer on the field, which is coming forward for another barrage actually. Alright, so those rockets are going to be landing all over the tank with the vehicle repair stations, taking out one, putting heavy damage on the others. Bartertown doesn't really want to have to repair those right now, but anyway, Bartertown's going to be spending on a T-34 right now, and I feel like actually this T-34 is a good T-34 to be getting. The reason being, like, the Axis player, although this roster in the top left is still good, is definitely on the back foot. is struggling for a way to deal with these tanks, especially when they're fighting with the Zis guns in support. And the T-34 just represents our way of snowballing and punishing Axis infantry, as well as breaking things like this MG42 up here. So this the T-34 is a relatively inconsequential piece of force. It's like a small percentage worth of Bartertown's army that can be just sent up here, smash aside the MG42, allow Allied infantry to come up here and access this point. And that's obviously going to be crucial in this game, as we're now moving into the 40-minute mark. 178 tickets for the Axis player, Sabrina, over the 128 of Bartertown. So, yeah, 50 points in this, 40 minutes played. And both players definitely still in this. There's a 3-star Tiger alive. Okay, the T-34 is just going to be coming forwards here. He's hunting again. He's hunting again for Panzerwerfers. And he's going to find it. What was that? The Pack gun gets burned out. Panzerwerfer gets destroyed. And I feel like the dam is starting to crumble here for Sabrina. Soviet forces pouring through, overrunning. The KV-2 finding a star of veterancy after a horrendous shell smashes into a load of grenadiers. Now the T-34 is trying to get out of here with an angry Tiger on its tail. Probably ought to be dead, but again, the Tiger's slow turret traverse speed, betraying it to a large extent. And Bartertown gets out of there. Now holding 2 of the victory points. It's Sabrina under the clock. And, I mean, I'm a little confused. I mean, I'm not confused. I'm a little surprised. I feel like Sabrina had a really good handle on this game. And then Bartertown has just slowly but surely, over the last few big engagements, bit by bit, just been able to swing the advantage. And I almost can't believe I'm saying this now, but I feel like Sabrina might be driven out of this game. I mean, what do you do against this Soviet roster now as the Axis player? You have this many resources, you have these units. You tell me, guys. I'm struggling to find the answer. I don't know what you need. Another Panther? I think it pretty much has to be, right? I don't know. I mean, now this Tiger tank is having to take a fight against a KV-2. The engine gets donked by these heroic conscripts, who are going to escape. Zis guns hurling shells in. This Tiger tank just fought a little too long there. KV-2 comes forward. Donk. That's a dead Tiger. Ain't no way. And Sabrina knows it. Wow. Bartertown here, navigating a really interesting game. I am surprised. And not in a bad way, you know, I'm pleasantly surprised that Bartertown able to find a win here. Honestly, though, I feel like I'm sort of struggling to sort of narrate the logic of this game. It seemed like... So Bartertown got off to a really good start. The 4 squads of conscripts were holding strong on the field, got them off to an early game advantage. Then the Axis roster grew, got more sophisticated and powerful. And then 4 squads of conscripts were inadequate, insufficient, even with the T-70 in support. And it was 4 squads of conscripts and a T-70 for quite a long phase of the early parts of this game, because Bartertown was saving up for armoured resources and building up his armour support infrastructure in terms of these repair stations here. Now, I actually don't feel like Barter, maybe right now in the end game, but I don't really feel like Barter ever really had the armoured resources to justify this level of repair infrastructure. Most of the time it was just 1 KV-8, which didn't even take advantage of this repair infrastructure that much, and probably would have been just as well served by 1, maybe 2 of these repair stations, certainly not 3 or 4. So that confused me a little bit. And then Bartertown got KV-8, and then went for a T-34, I believe, next. And that T-34 was actually instrumental in removing the Panzerwerfers. I feel Bartertown got a bit lucky there, but the plan was a good plan, and it did work, and that's fair enough. I think he got a bit lucky with the Tiger turret, and definitely Sabrina, as I pointed out earlier, could have rotated that Tiger and probably saved one of the Panzerwerfers by doing that. But, you know, nobody plays perfectly, and in this instance, Bartertown getting a bit lucky there. That's fine. And then replacing the Panzerwerfers with the Panther, I really like. And then, right, so then there was a moment in the game where it was Tiger, Panther versus, and supporting infantry, versus KV-2, KV-8, and was it a T-34? or something. And I'm talking about the moment here where the Panther tank got destroyed and around about this position. Now there it is there. And the Zis guns came forward to like here and were taking shots in. And that was the game deciding moment for me. I think that was actually when the game pretty much fell beyond a place where Sabrina was really able to get a win from. And I just don't quite understand how that Panther was not able to survive. I feel like there's definitely a line where, was it being blocked by units here or something? Because those Zis guns were firing at like maximum range from over here. And the Panther had taken so much damage. I'm going to have to go back and watch that one again to just see exactly where all of that damage that was on the Panther came from. Because I feel like with proper Panther micro, that Panther should not have been available to be destroyed in that kind of an engagement. It shouldn't have ended up on one-hit status with 3 Zis guns aiming at it, like here. I feel sure that there was a way for the Wehrmacht player to like not let that eventuality occur. But yeah, like I say, I'm probably gonna have to watch the replay back and figure exactly out what that is, where the mistake was made, because I can't really imagine it right now. So yeah. But then after that, yeah, I mean, then Bartertown was totally in the ascendancy, and we had a fight taken here with the Tiger tank in this position, and it was just not enough for the Axis player. And Bartertown able to ride a Soviet Windustry strategy to a nice win there. So, yeah, exciting stuff. Very nice to see, and a well-deserved victory there for Bartertown. So, yeah. Cool. Really glad we caught that one. I'm going to quickly have a look at the live game lobby and see if there's another fun game. I realize that was like a relatively long game, but I love casting and I have a bit of spare time right now. So let's just have a look and see what's on offer. If there's nothing interesting, we've got Bartertown versus Orifer. Metagames League. Yeah, I'm game for it. Come on, let's do another one. But I'm going to have to go and get another drink, so just bear with me whilst this game loads. I shall return momentarily. Well, alrighty then. Spawning in the north, playing as the Wehrmacht pieces, our second Wehrmacht challenger. It will be Orifer on Crossing in the Woods. And spawning in the south, playing as the Soviet forces once again, already with a win under his belt against Wehrmacht forces. It's going to be WhoRunBarterTown. So, yep, it's going to be another Wehrmacht versus Soviet Union game here. But I got no problem with that. I have seen quite a lot of OKW versus USF recently, and so I am very excited to see the Soviets and the Wehrmacht going at it. Yep, the classicest matchup in the game. So, yeah, we'll see if Bartertown's going to be doing the same thing, running with the same commanders on the roster here. Looks like Orifer are going to be running the Spearhead Doctrine, Elite Troops Doctrine, and New Bloke with Hat. Strategic Reserves Doctrine is the name of that one there. So let's take a look at here. You get Assault Grenadiers, you get the Panzer IV J variant, you get the Breakthrough Equipment. Pioneers can be equipped with special packages to clear obstacles, while Panzer Grenadiers can be granted Model 24 smoke grenades. Okay. You get the Mobile Observation Posts. The 251 half-tracks are capable of camouflaging themselves. Scout for hostile. Ooh, wow. Okay, I'll be honest, this looks like a really interesting commander. I'm sort of hoping that Orifer's going to run with it so that I can cast it in the wild. That's really interesting. And of course, then in the late game, you've got the Tiger Ace, which is ever the imposing and very scary unit to face. So, yes, everything or indeed nothing to play for here. I mean, honor, ladder points, and glory on the ladder, but also no actual money or anything like that. So it depends how you look at it. But, yeah, certainly enough to pick my interest at stake in this game. MG42 here on the roster early on here for Bartertown. We're going to be moving through west of map, supporting Grenadier squads, actually, and Pioneer squads. So it looks like Orifer deciding to distribute most of his resources here into the west of the map. Finds an Engineer squad, and of course they will be no match for this many Axis stuff, and they're going to be forced out of there. But the east of the map turning very red. Let's crack the tack and we can have a better overview about where our two players have decided to route their early game units here. And you can see Field control looking approximately even. We've got a little bit more red than blue here, but things are going to shake out that the Axis player has the west of map and the Allied player has the east of map. But these conscript squads, they are swinging eastwards now, capping ground as they go. Actually, missing the victory point here, so just an interesting note here. Looks like Bartertown not really prioritising victory points, much more keen to connect the fuel and move on into his opponent's territory. And that's a fine decision early game, but it is an interesting one to note. Conscripts here are going to find some grenadiers on their way out of base. Light cover here for the conscripts, and at this sort of range actually they ought to be just fine against these grenadiers, rolling pretty unluckily in the opening stages of this engagement. Additional grenadiers and pioneers going to be coming in, but there are additional conscripts coming in here, and we've got our first big fight with multiple units from both sides here. Conscripts going to make for the heavy cover as well they might. That's going to serve them very well. These grenadiers got to be losing this fight now over here in a crossfire between two squads of conscripts. There's just too many Soviet rifles for them to deal with, and now additional conscript squads over on the bridge here. So Bartertown going up to 4 squads conscripts engineers. I imagine we'll be seeing well, we've got support weapon Campanile, and then I imagine we'll be seeing tank of battalion command relatively early here, and then a T-70. So it seems like Bartertown has a style with which they're comfortable and going to be looking to use that one once again. MG42 on the fallback path of these units is very nice. That's a dangerous thing. Getting a lot of free infantry models here, and obviously if this was von Ivan would probably have wiped out 4 squads. To be honest, if that MG42 instead of being here was here, then that could have been even more vicious, because that way the squads are literally running into the barrel of the gun point blank, and that's when the damage gets absurd. So anyway, looks like we've got a little bit of a shift up here. Bartertown going to be changing gears and electing to run with the Soviet airborne commander. So we're going to see a different strat on this map, and I have to say I'm glad of it. Whilst I enjoyed what Bartertown brought to the table last game, I was a bit confused by some of his decision making, and I thought that some of it was a bit shaky. Whilst I would relish the chance to re-examine that build, I am also more enthused to see a different commander, and it's going to be Soviet airborne troops, which is definitely my favourite Soviet commander right now. One of the more transformative Soviet commanders that the faction has access to. Relevant and interesting through all phases of the game, and just opens up a lot of new dynamic playstyles for the Soviet forces, and is a really good attacking commander. And as I've mentioned before on the channel, I'm an attacking style player. I like to keep my opponent under pressure all the time. I like to have something going on in or around their base or in their half of the map, just being something that they have to respond to. I like to set the tempo of the game. And this is a commander that does that. You can make your units more spicy by giving them better guns. You can bring in the Dansak spicy machine gun to apply pressure. You can bring in the Guards airborne geezers, who are quite good. And you have the forward fallback base, which is just something that I always like. Whenever a faction can offer me a forward fallback and reinforcing position, I'm interested. So, yep. Looks like Bartertown is going to be probably aiming to play a more mobile and aggressive game this time round, but we'll see. Orafor for now on 3 squads Grenadier, 1 squad MG42, plus of course the starting Pioneers. Another aircraft just flying over indicates additional weapon crates are appearing in the base here. So more Soviet units will be upgrading themselves to SVD rifles here, and that will up the DPS of these conscripts considerably. It's going to be a 251 half-track here. Like the Mechanized Company is finished, and yes, it's going to be a 251 half-track for our Axis player, so that's already atypical. It represents something of a departure from the standard Wehrmacht meta. And I imagine this will be for flame projectors to help deal with these conscripts. Can't imagine that this is going to be a mobile reinforcing half-track, although I am open to being wrong. I would like to be wrong, to be honest. Let's talk about 251 half-tracks for a second here. When was the last time anyone ever saw a flame projector half-track actually be good? I think flame projector half-tracks can be good in 2 ways. They can be good by just rushing out and surprising your opponent and getting a ton of early damage stacked on, and possibly wiping a squad or 2. In which case, they don't vet up very much, they usually die early, but the damage is done because they've wiped enemy squads or broken enemy hardpoints and cemented you an advantage in that way. The other way that flame half-tracks can be good is by incrementing damage over time, vetting up and sort of surviving over a long period of time. And because of the nature of the flame half-track, it's a little bit like the Bren carrier. We never really see it survive very long. So it's a rare game that we see a flame projector half-track go on to be 3 stars and just survive over time. So normally the utility is going to be in chasing enemy units with the flame projectors and getting squad wipes, but it's been a long time since I've seen a game where a flame projector half-track achieved either of those ways of really paying for itself. And I have to say, it seems like Orafor, for now, I mean, Orafor has the munitions to have bought the flame projectors, could have done so many times by now. So, maybe not going to be doing that. Also, Orafor, mixing in a marksman. Sniper here. Going to be looking to snipe some conscripts down. So, okay, Orafor definitely going to be playing an idiosyncratic style here, using this half-track as a transport, possibly even going to be using it to reinforce dudes. So, yeah, this is interesting, and to be honest, I wish that this style of Wehrmacht was a bit more viable, because I think that Wehrmacht have a really interesting selection of early game units that all play together in very interactive and entertaining to watch ways. And I think the 251 half-track is a really interesting unit that we just never see used, because honestly, it's just not super great. It's fine, it's acceptable, but it's not like, it doesn't feel punchy. It never feels like your opponent lost the game because of your 251 half-track. So, I am keen to see this style. We already have a diverse and interesting roster. The 251 half-track backing up an MG, a sniper, and some core infantry. Entertaining, and I want to see where Orafor's going to take this. But here's the problem. Yeah, and we so often see Axis players, particularly Wehrmacht. He gets a Faust on, so that's actually really nice. But we often see Wehrmacht players run into this problem where, okay, now the pack gun comes on the queue, but this is too late. The sniper needed to have been a pack gun. If you don't have some sort of light tank protection in place by like the 8-minute mark, then a T-70 can and often will wreck your world as Wehrmacht. Like, we've all had those games as Wehrmacht where you're loving the game, you're like, yeah, I got to play some company periods today, and then you're like microing your dudes and having a great time, possibly you're even winning on the map, and then before you realise it, 8-9 minutes has gone by and a T-70 rocks up and you're like, oh whoops, I forgot to build a Pack 40, and then suddenly wherever the T-70 goes you have to fall back your units are in danger of being wiped because the T-70 is fast enough to pursue them on the retreat, and like the game just is like, ugh. So you have to remember, like, usually that doesn't happen to Wehrmacht players too many times before they're like, oh yeah, if I don't do this, then I'm going to get wrecked by a Stuart or a T-70, so I better have some anti-tank in place for that. And that's fine, it's just a thing that you have to do. But yeah, it looked like Orafor here just leaving that one a little bit too late, and saved, though, by getting that Faust onto the T-70. That forces it back, forces it to have to repair, which buys enough time for a Pack 40 to come onto the roster. So luckily, we're not going to see that worst-case scenario I just sort of described. And now we have a pack gun here, actually immediately catching the T-70 in arc. That's a bit unlucky here. The T-70 has to GTFO. It's going to be okay. Taking 2 hits, though. So actually, Orafor is looking a bit smart right now. This T-70 has not been very efficient whatsoever. Dansak Spicy Machine Gun getting added into the roster here. It is now under our control. Yep. Alright, 251 is going to be driving on in here. It's got Grenadiers and Pioneers in it. So I think what he was doing there was just coming in to check out, hey, is there a window where I can jump out my dudes and occupy the cutoff point? Because you can see right now, that would be pretty smart. If you'd have been able to get that cutoff, that would have been a lot of territory that would have then been cut off. So I appreciate the thought there from Orafor, but it's not going to come through right now. And I guess you're probably thinking, hey, my opponent probably doesn't have a Zis gun, so I'm probably just okay to push with my half-track here and have a look. A T-70 on its own is not going to be enough to punish. And as long as I don't get donked by an AT grenade off of some conscripts, it should be okay. So a relatively, I'm not going to say low risk, because many times you throw a vehicle out into the fog of war and you get hit by conscript squads, even when you're like, okay, the one thing I have to do is make sure I don't get hit by an anti-vehicle grenade, and then it still happens. So I'm not going to say it's like low risk, but it's like acceptable risk, and potentially high reward if you actually manage to get that cut off. And anyway, 251 getting donked up a little bit here, and we're going to need some Pioneers to find their way over there and start repairing that one. T-70 Engineers going to be pushing out over here. Soviet infantry has free reign pretty much over the east of the map, and will be claiming ground over there. Axis infantry, though, the same in the west. So a very even game so far. Whoa, 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 sorry. Hang on now. I'm just so not used to allied players being this low on victory points. Of course, this whole time, Orafor has actually had command over the midline of the map. The 3 victory points have been in Axis hands, more or less, for the majority of this game. And so, I've just realised, Bartertown finds himself right now under a triple cap, just become a double cap, but down at 241, under 500 at the 12-minute mark in this game. Yikes! That's pretty damn scary! And it is rare that we see the Axis. I mean, sometimes we see this scoreline, but it's almost always the Allied player in the ascendancy. I'm not like saying like meh balance or like meh Allied players or anything. I'm just saying that, you know, that's the way the game is set up. Often Allied factions dominate early on in the game, and that's fine because Axis factions get to dominate later on in the game. Like, often, obviously that's not how every game pans out, and all of the factions have strengths and weaknesses in the early game and the late game, but, you know, often the dynamic we see is that the Allied player gets off to a scoreline advantage in the early phases of the game. And this time, like, holy spoons, is this Wehrmacht player commanding these victory points like a champ. So yeah, very interesting stuff. Let's see, 8 kills on the sniper now. Always good to keep an eye on how many headshots your sniper has been getting. I always like to track that statistic. Alright, so we've got a T-70 here pushing over mid-bridge. There are actually no AT resources. In fact, the pack gun gets caught out. It's flustered. Bartertown spots this. Could dive in with the T-70. Ops 2. T-70 coming in hard here. Conscripts in support. 251 half-track. Kind of caught out here. Panzer Grenadiers are here. The pack gun, oh, he was desperately trying to reinforce off the half-track, and nearly another model came out, but it's actually not going to come through. Now the T-70 free to come around. I think he should grab this with the Grenadiers. No, he's going to go for a Faust instead. Grab the pack gun with something. Grabbing it with Storm Pioneers is a really bad idea, because I believe it actually then takes up more unit cap, because Panzer Grenadiers are really good. Not Storm Pioneers, sorry. Okay, are those shoe mines? Yeah, shoe mines here to prevent an overrun, but oh my goodness me, Soviet forces are crushing through. Pioneers forced to retreat. MG42 packs up and retreats. T-70 throwing in shells. Additional conscripts coming in, and Bartertown takes a very convincing fight. Let's crack the tack, and we can assess the situation here. Every Axis unit in base right now. Allied infantry setting up shop in all sections of the map. Everything turning very red. So Bartertown has found the breakout. He has found the reversal of fortune that he needed to shrug off this intense scoreline differential that he's found himself under. Trailing by 300 odd ticket. Well, he's trailing by like 296 tickets right now. That is tough times. So, yeah, Orafor's army and troops have earned this respite. They have... It is acceptable for them to come back to base right now and heal and reinforce and take a moment where they're not fighting. Obviously, it's not what Orafor would like, to give map control to the Soviet player when he's been so good at denying that this whole game. But if you get off to a game like this advantage this early, I mean, that's fine. You'll take that as the Wehrmacht player every time. And now the support armor core is finished, so tells us now that Orafor are actually interested in buying some support armor core tech. We'll see what that's going to be here. Stug, Ostwind, and Panzer IV would all look fine in this game as it stands right now. For the Soviet player, Mechanized Armor Campanier has finished back here, so that one is now online. 55 fuel in the bank, not enough to take a choice from that one yet, but in the next few minutes we could see any of the top tier Soviet units coming out. Okay, Axis units tentatively probing back out onto the map. You can see the spread here, the half-track being the linchpin of the line. Whoa, these Dansaks do so much damage. That's 2 Dansaks there that were just shredding these Pioneers. But the 251 half-track comes across, and those Pioneers can now, as soon as... yep, there we go, they can reinforce out of it. Yeah, mobile reinforcement half-tracks. I wish that this mechanic was slightly more present in the game. Like, I wish mobile and forward reinforcing was just, like, more of a thing. And it's going to be a Panzer IV Ausf J for Orafor. Which means that Orafor has gone ahead and picked a commander. It is the Strategic Reserves Doctrine. And this Panzer IV Ausf J, well microed, could be a fantastic choice. It is very effective against pretty much everything in this Allied roster. There is only really anti-tank grenades on conscripts and a pack gun, which was salvaged. Actually, I forgot to mention that, of course. When the pack gun was lost in this position, Soviet forces just overran and grabbed it. So that a particularly bitter loss for the Axis player, who now finds his roster completely outnumbered, somewhat outgunned. And that pack gun will be super useful against this Panzer IV. Here comes the Panzer IV Ausf J now. Is it the same cost as the Overcommand one? It's a little bit cheaper than the Overcommand one. Okay, just curious. It's a rare day that I see the Wehrmacht Ausf J on the field. Look at this minimap though, it is chaos right now. Sniper in a bad way, yep, gonna get wiped out there. Just too many Soviet guns. These SVD rifles, pretty nice. Tank busting grenades come through, connect onto the 251 half-track, so that one is now exposed. Pack gun, no, sorry, that's not the pack gun. Pack gun right now is on the south side of the bridge. The Panzer IV RSFJ is taking some shots here. This pack gun looking to find a way to get some shots onto the Axis medium, but it's gonna scurry away. But look at this mini-map. This is chaos now for the Axis player. Orafor under the gun in a really hard way. Bartertown has taken back map control and is now relentlessly hunting Axis units. The Axis roster terribly depleted here in the top left, having lost the sniper, having lost a grenadier squad, I believe, somewhere. And of course having hemorrhaged the pack gun over to Soviet control. That's pretty bad. Now the pack gun here going to be taking shots at the Panzer IV, never where you want to be as a Soviet player. That was a anti-vehicle grenade here, going to be donking that Panzer IV, forcing it to spend yet more time off the line repairing it. And with just one squad of pioneers as well, those repairs aren't going to be too rapid. He's going to rebuy the sniper? No, I think this is a terrible choice. I don't know about this. I don't like rebuying the sniper because snipers are very brittle and very expensive, and I think that is the double kiss of death there for this choice. Like, right now, you just need boots on the ground. Look how small your army is compared to this terrifying Soviet army. Okay, you just need like another squad of grenadiers, another squad of panzer grenadiers, even a mortar squad, another MG42. Any of those choices, probably okay. But a sniper costs like more than any of those, and dies potentially in like 1 or 2 hits from anything, and it's one of these units that increments damage out very slowly. And right now that doesn't sound like the unit profile that you need. You need something which is dependable, durable. Snipers are like higher risk. They are a higher risk pick. And I can see Orafor is one of these players who's definitely very confident when he has a sniper out in the field and likes to be able to have access to a sniper at all times. And I sympathize. Like, when I play Wehrmacht forces, there was a long time, probably at least a year or 2 of this game, where whenever I would play as Wehrmacht forces, a sniper was like the first or second unit onto my roster every time. And if that sniper died, I would always replace him, just because I was so used to and confident with having a sniper around. But I don't think this is the time to be rebuilding a sniper, if I'm honest, for Orafor. You need solutions for this pack gun. And I mean, a sniper can shoot a pack gun, but I just don't think it represents the solution we need. Now we've got some grenadiers here in a bad way. They're going to be able to get out of there, so that's pretty lucky. T-34 on the field now, and this is a good T-34 for Bartertown. When your Axis opponent is reeling and on the back foot, yeah, that's when you start snowballing T-34s, because your Axis player is struggling to answer your existing army, let alone your existing army plus 1 T-34, let alone your existing army plus 2 T-34s. So when you have the advantage and your Axis opponent is reeling and they are struggling to answer your units, that is when converting your resources into damage to their face as quickly as possible is the best plan, and T-34s are the most efficient unit for doing that. And so Bartertown correctly identifying there is blood in the water here, and the best way of converting this game into a win is to crush his opponent under a swarm of Soviet medium armor. Is 2 a swarm? Yeah, 2 is a swarm. Who's anyone else to say otherwise? I'm definitely right. Alright, so that's the second T-34, and at this rate of fuel income, he could have a third one in a couple of minutes here if he wanted. I think 3 may be overkill, like, because the thing is, 3 T-34s doesn't do a lot that 2 doesn't already do, and if your opponent ever stabilizes and starts countering T-34s, then that represents, like, 50% more resources countered if you buy a third T-34 than just having 2 T-34s countered. I hope that made sense. Anyway, conscript here overrunning. Somehow the 251 half-track is still alive. That's been quite the survivor this game. T-34's crushing forward though. This is looking pretty nasty. Pack gun coming in for a sweet shot between the building here. That's actually going to pin this Panzer IV out of the base, which is very scary. You just cannot be taking a fight with a pack gun hitting you here, I'm afraid, mate. Just won't work. Grenadiers under heavy duress here, and he just cannot be hemorrhaging infantry squads either. Somehow getting out of there with the Grenadier squad. Bit lucky there, I think, Orafor. MG42 is going to be destroyed, though. Oh, no. And that'll be falling into Soviet hands. And, again, you can't do that. And now the sniper will be hunted down. There's nothing out here. The Panzer IV is cut off. There's nothing out here. Going to be splitting these T-34s so nicely. Hey, Panzer IV, how's it going? Well, pretty bad, it turns out. Going to be using Combat Blitz now just to reverse down here. That doesn't make much sense, and I don't think it's going to help. And this one is increasingly looking over right now. Soviet forces just doing horrible things over here. Panzer IV backed up into a corner, trading pretty well, but it won't be enough. Yeah. So there goes the Panzer IV, there goes all of the other units, and this game is over. The Soviet plan executed so well here, and able to overcome a horrendous early game advantage that Orafor was able to secure. T-70 is going to come round here for the ultra flank, picks off the half track. There's no Axis units left, and yeah, Orafor knows it. He's out of this game, and you've got a feel for him. That early game went so well. He was able to hold the midline of the map and was skirmishing correctly with a Soviet player who was using airborne doctrine as well, which is quite punchy in the early game. Like, conscripts with SVD rifles are nice. And Orafor was able to keep up with all that and demonstrated, in my opinion, a build that I'm quite nostalgic for, to be honest. 251 half-track with sniper support and an interesting, well-rounded, sophisticated, capable Wehrmacht roster is the kind of thing I wish we saw more often in this game, to be honest, because it's very engaging to play and it's very engaging to watch. And it makes use of lots of different units from lots of different levels of the Wehrmacht tech tree, and those units all interact with each other and enemy units in lots of interesting ways. So it's from a point of view of a spectator, and I have to say from the point of view of a player, it feels like a healthy unit strat that I think that the game should bring out more often, but we don't really get to see it, and that's because it's so brittle, it's so fragile. If you have lots of different units, all of which are interdependent, then you only have to lose one or two units before your whole army loses functionality. And in this game, we kind of saw that, really. He lost the sniper, he lost the pack gun, and then things just started snowballing. The other considerable disadvantage, of course, of going for these nice, interesting Wehrmacht early game compositions is if you're relying heavily on weapon teams and you lose any of those weapon teams and your enemies are able to loot that weapon, the loss is more than... It's literally worse than losing two of that weapon. If you lose one and your opponent picks it up, it is basically worse than losing two of that weapon. It's so bad. And in this game we saw that. The Pak-40 was lost and then provided profoundly excellent anti-tank against the Panzer IV of the Wehrmacht player, basically enabling the Soviet player to skip building any Zis guns whatsoever and go straight into T-34s, and having a super great mid-game where he just crushed Orafor. So yeah, I mean, if you're relying on mortar tubes and MG42s and pack guns, and one fight goes badly and some of those units die in a position where you're unable to deny or reman those weapon teams and your opponent gets to access them, it's very difficult to come back from that. And I realise all the factions in the game have weapon teams, and this is something that applies to all the factions particularly. But Wehrmacht, out of all the factions in the game, has the earliest access to the broadest roster of, in my opinion, probably the most interesting weapon teams. So their early game playstyle, if you opt to use those units, is especially susceptible to this kind of dynamic where you lose your weapon teams to your opponent and then things are really, really, really bad. I'm sure Wehrmacht and Axis players everywhere will be able to think of many games where they've lost an MG42 early on, and that MG42 has gone on to be utterly, utterly punishing for their Axis units. The MG42 is actually really good against Wehrmacht units. So anyway, a great couple of games we've seen here. BarterTown seemingly playing on form. I liked his decision-making in this second game a lot better. I actually just agreed with pretty much everything he did. All of the choices seemed really smart, and despite being considerably on the back foot in the early phases of the game, once he was able to break that lock and sort of start dictating the pace of play to the Axis player, that was almost it, really. Just the door was shut, Orafor was defeated and shoved out of this game. It never really felt like once the balance of power started shifting towards Bartertown, it just didn't ever stop, and Orafor just got absolutely snowballed. And correctly identifying his advantage there, Bartertown just going for the it's both safe and quick win by building T-34s and just annihilating his foe with Soviet might. And I'm not going to lie, it's a pleasure to see. I love seeing Soviets. The Soviets are definitely my favourite allied faction. They're just so cool. And seeing them put together games like this with a new airborne commander is just... I would be lying if I said I didn't love it. So anyway, great. Two fantastic games there caught on the ladder. My hat goes off to Bartertown. He's clearly looking in good shape at the moment. Thanks very much for all of you guys out there watching the video. And this for now will be Magpie842 signing out.